करना नंतर लेकिन सर माया नाही माया सर मला क्लिकच नाही झाला. साउंड आ रहा है बट मैंने यहाँ से साउंड है नहीं. तेरा जो टेबल है ना उस साइड करने का सब ये इसमें ना दिखता है सब. तू बैठा ना वहाँ पर नहीं तो मैं साउंड आ रहा है. मैंने यहाँ से उस साइड करने का सब ये इसमें दिखता है. तू बैठा ना
राष्ट्रसंत तुकडोजी महाराज राष्ट्रीय सुवर्ण विभाग यानुसार नेताजी सुभाष यांचा जीवन परिचय, भारतीय स्वातंत्र्य लढ्यात असलेले महत्वपूर्ण योगदान, त्यांच्या आयुष्यातील वास्तविक घटनांचा अभ्यास या अनुषंगाने आज विद्यापीठाच्या वतीने नेताजी सुभाषचंद्र बोस जयंती अर्थात पराक्रम दिवस या नावाने आपण हा कार्यक्रम आयोजित केला आहे. या कार्यक्रमाला अध्यक्ष म्हणून लाभले सन्माननीय संजय जोधे सर, राष्ट्रसंत तुकडोजी महाराज नागपूर विद्यापीठ नागपूर आणि विशेष उपस्थित डॉक्टर विनीत पेशवे, प्राचार्य विविध महाविद्यालय नागपूर, काही अत्यावश्यक कारणामुळे सन्माननीय या कार्यक्रमाला उपस्थित राहू शकले, परंतु या कार्यक्रमाच्या अनुषंगाने सरांनी आपल्याला शुभेच्छा पाठवल्या. या संदर्भामध्ये आजचा कार्यक्रम आयोजित होता आहे. सर्वप्रथम कार्यक्रमाची सुरुवात आपण राष्ट्रगीताने करूया आणि त्यानंतर विद्यापीठ गीत सुरू होईल. याकरिता सर्वांनी
Almost.
यानंतर नेताजी सुभाषचंद्र बोस
काय बघू
राष्ट्रसंत तुकडोजी महाराज नागपूर विद्यापीठ राष्ट्रीय सेवायोजना विभाग आणि याच्या कार्यक्रमाचे प्रमुख अतिथी सन्माननीय श्री सरकार माजी कुलगुरू विद्यापीठ पश्चिम बंगाल या कार्यक्रमाचे अध्यक्ष सन्माननीय प्रमुख तर संजयजी धुळे सर प्राचार्य डॉक्टर या सर्वांचं विद्यापीठाच्या वतीने मी शब्दस्मृताने स्वागत करतो. यानंतर आजच्या या कार्यक्रमाचे मुख्य अतिथी डॉक्टर स्मृतिकुमार सरकार सरांचा परिचय करून देताना मला आनंद होत आहे. डॉक्टर स्मृतिकुमार सरकार सर भूतपूर्व कुलपती वर्धन विश्वविद्यालय पश्चिम बंगाल में कार्यरत थे. भारतीय संग्रहालय कोलकाता मंडल उपाध्यक्ष पद की भूमिका निभाई तर कार्य किया है. पश्चिम बंगाल कल्याण विश्वविद्यालय अध्यापन कार्य में महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका रही. प्रतिष्ठित ICCR इंडिया विश्वविद्यालय आर्मेनिया प्रोफेसर की भूमिका साकार करते. वहाँ इंडियन स्टडी सेंटर सर के मार्गदर्शन शुरू किया गया. समग्र भारत भर एवं विश्वभर सर का प्रवास रहा. 1980 इस कालखंड पर टेक्नोलॉजी इंडिया पर सर का शोध कार्य प्रकाशित हुआ. भारतीय परिस्थिति के संदर्भ में डॉक्टर स्मृतिकुमार सरकार सर ने सोशल हिस्ट्री ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी इन द इंडियन कंट्रीज यह किताब लिखी जिसे ऑक्सफोर्ड विश्वविद्यालय ने प्रकाशित किया है. सर भारतीय इतिहास समकालीन समिति वेस्ट बंगाल विभाग के अध्यक्ष पद पर कार्यरत. ऐसे महनीय अतिथि को मेरा नम्र निवेदन है कि नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस स्मृति में पराक्रम दिवस के अवसर पर इस औचित्य हमें उद्बोधित करें. डॉक्टर स्मृतिकुमार सरकार.
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Your voices are broken and corrupt. The technical snack continues and I can't hear you properly. Hello? Can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Technical stack continues and I can't make you properly. Hello? Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
30 सेकंड वगैरह म्हणजे उशिरा चालले 30 सेकंड.
Hello?
सर उधर से बोल रहे हो?
Hello? Can you hear me? Am I audible?
यहाँ पे आवाज आ रही है? नहीं, ये तेरे लैपटॉप में आवाज आ रही ना?
There is still a technical snag, and if it continues, there is useless. It is useless to speak.
You are audible to us?
Yes, sir. You are audible. You can start, sir.
Yes, I am ready to start. Hello? Hello? आ रही है आवाज? Hello? Just tell me whether I am audible. आपको आवाज, मेरा आवाज उधर जाता है क्या? आपको सुनाई दे रहा है? Unless I get the feedback, how can I speak?
Sir, you are clearly audible, sir. Please, you
Okay,
can start.
okay, thank you. So, ये पराक्रम दिवस के शुभ अवसर पर मैं मेरे तरफ से सब सज्जनों जो स्टेडियम डायस पर दिख रहे हैं सबको मेरे आभार प्रकट करता हूं. और जैसे नागपुर यूनिवर्सिटी के तरफ से हमको बोलने के लिए अवसर मिला, इसके लिए भी नागपुर यूनिवर्सिटी अथॉरिटीज को मैं मेरे जो नम्रता पूर्वक कृतज्ञता स्वीकार करता हूं. लेकिन एक प्रॉब्लम है, ऐसे तो मैं हिंदी बोल लेता हूं, लेकिन एकेडमिक लेक्चर कभी हिंदी में नहीं दिया. इसीलिए मेरा ये लेक्चर इंग्लिश में होगा. लेकिन मेरा पूर्ण विश्वास है कि मेरा जो इंग्लिश होगा ये सबको लिए, बच्चों को लिए भी एकदम आसान होगा, क्योंकि मैं स्पीकिंग इंग्लिश जो होता है वही बोलेंगे. So let's start. I'm afraid that your system is not properly working because I didn't hear whatever you said. The song also, it didn't reach me. The first question that I will ask to this audience is that why, even after 76 years of after the disappearance of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose in the alleged plane crash in Taiwan, why whenever we utter the name of Subhash Chandra Bose, a titillating sensation spins down our spine, and we are immediately possessed with a sense of admiration, love, and regards for this great patriot, whom Mahatma Gandhi called patriot of the patriots. Now the question is, who was this man who had a dramatic life, stormy life rather, full of troubles, of only 48 years. But in these 48 years, what he did was really splendid, wonderful. And that is the subject of this lecture. But this is not just a statement of what he did, his achievements. We will try through this lecture to assess what Indian historians and the government since independence before 2014 had done for this great leader, the great patriot. Now, let me first quote a few words from Shah Nawaz Khan. You must have all heard of his name. Shah Nawaz Khan was one of the 3 A category war heroes whose trial at the Red Fort created a great halla balu, I should say, all over India. There was protest, voluntary protest from the mass against this trial. Now, this Shah Nawaz Khan, he testified before the judges at the Red Fort trial that the very presence of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, when I saw him, it simply hypnotized me. And I was hypnotized by his personality and his speeches. He placed the true picture of India before us, and for the first time in my life, I saw India through the eyes of an Indian. Now, this Shah Nawaz Khan was a Punjabi Muslim from Rawalpindi. And the time he was speaking was 1946, when Jinnah's Pakistan movement was at its high pitch. So Gandhi, equally, Mahatma Gandhi, years back, he described Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose as a charismatic leader. What was the source of his charisma? Why did he attract the people from all parts of India? How is it that he could collect 1 lakh people, 1 lakh Indians in Southeast Asia who fought for the country under the banner of Azad Hind Fauj, Indian National Army? So let me first, since this lecture is meant for the students, let me try to locate the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose in his early life, because childhood makes the man. Netaji Subhash was born in a very large family, and he was the 9th child. His father was a successful lawyer of Cuttack town, the princely town in those days, and the divisional headquarters of Odisha, which was then under Bengal administration. So it was very far from Calcutta. It's not that he was born in Calcutta or he studied in Calcutta. Now, his father lived in the outskirts of the town, which was inhabited mainly by the poor Muslims. So this gave Netaji a rare combination. On the one side, he was born in a literary Kayastha family, and the other, he was brought up in an area with poor neighbors. So this gave him a mix of his quest for knowledge, arch for knowledge on the one hand, and a very human, down-to-earth approach to life. And if you pursue Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's life, you will also see that he was not an upstart, in spite of a genius like him. Now, the first person to have deeply influenced him was his headmaster of Cuttack Ravenshaw College. It was a Bengali Oriya combined school. So he studied there, and his headmaster instilled unto him an uncompromising attachment to moral values and love for nature. But the most important influence of his life came through the writings of Swami Vivekananda. And I am quoting you what Netaji wrote about this great saint, Swami Vivekananda. He wrote, Subhash wrote, I was barely 15 when Vivekananda entered my life. And the message he appropriated of the teachings of Vivekananda was Attanam Mokkhartham Jagadhitayacha. That is self-salvation and universal welfare. Now, by salvation, what he meant, the salvation of the soul is not to become the rishi, but to manifest the qualities that he had latent and that he had within himself, as per Swami Vivekananda. Because you all know that Vivekananda defined education as manifestation of the perfection already in man. And Jagadhitaya, that is universal welfare for Vivekananda, was welfare for his countrymen. So these two things, first, his morally led life and his deep commitment to values, to service to the country, framed his life. And Subhash was a born genius. I told you already that he studied not in a Calcutta school. He studied in a Mofusshal school, in a suburban school, Ravenshaw school in Cuttack, very remote from Calcutta. And from there, he took his second matriculation examination. In those days, matriculation examination was conducted by the universities. So it was under Calcutta University. And he stood second in the entire university. Now, if I just say second in the university, it does not make any sense. So, the importance of his ranking. Because in those days, Calcutta University used to cover the area from Prayagraj, that is Allahabad, Prayagraj, to the northeast India, and from Darjeeling in the north to Ganjam in the south. So these vast areas, within these vast areas, so many candidates, thousands of candidates, and he stood second. He was his parents were very happy, and they sent him to the Presidency College of Calcutta, which was obviously the best academic institution of the then India. But God had divined him otherwise. And here he organized a students' protest movement against their history professor, E.F. Otten, who often vilified Indian civilization. So this protest movement snowballed into a major problem, and Subhash was rusticated from Calcutta University. So there was a break of studies for a student like him, and after some time, he was admitted again in Scottish Church College with philosophy honors at the intervention of Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee, the father of Dr. Shamaprasad Mukherjee, who was at that time the Chancellor of Calcutta University. So here also in Calcutta University, he got his first-class BA degree, and he was ranked. He ranked second in the university merit list. So he was planning to go for his masters when his father advised him to move to London for ICS examination. Now, ICS, the Indian Civil Service Examination, at that time was considered the heavenly service, because it was through this service that all the top officials of the very large British Empire were recruited. And the service was initially restricted for the British and the Europeans. It was thrown open to Indian students only after long agitation. That's a different history. But even then, it was very difficult for Indian students to crack. So Subhash went to the students' advisor to Calcutta. There was an official person who used to advise students who are willing to go to London for studies. Subhash went to him and said that he is willing to take the ICS examination. This man was a British professor of Presidency College, and an alumnus and an ex-student of Cambridge, he discouraged him, thoroughly discouraged Subhash Chandra Bose, and said that don't waste the money. Don't waste the money. It is difficult for you. You cannot compete with the top students, tip toppers of Cambridge and Oxford universities. Subhash was hurt, but he was confident. So before he left, he told that professor that my father has decided to throw 10,000 rupees to the sea for my ICS examination. At that time, 10,000 rupees in those days was the examination fee. So he went to London, and when he reached Cambridge via London, it was already too late. It was already too late. It was 25th October 1919, and only 8 months were left for the ICS examination to commence. Just imagine an examination like ICS, for which students used to take 2 to 3 years preparation to compete. Subhash had only 8 months to complete that examination. So even his father advised him not to take the examination, rather to take the examination the next year. But Subhash was uncompromising. He appeared at the examination, although his performance was not good, because he threw away 150 sure marks. That is the marks allotted to the translation of a Sanskrit passage that he had already done in the rough note, but he forgot to copy it to the final answer book. So he was not very hopeful that he will be able to pass the examination. But when the result came, everyone was surprised to see that Subhash not only passed the ICS examination, but was ranked in 4th. He got the 4th rank in the entire British Empire. So it was a splendid success. But this splendid success created a problem for me. Anyone would have been happy, because that would have allowed him to enter into a heavenly life. But Subhash was very unhappy. It put him a question that whether he should choose ICS service, and he should become an ICS officer and serve the British Raj, or he would serve his country and the countrymen. So on this question, his entire family and his friends were on the one side, and the ideals, Subhash Chandra Bose's ideals of life was on the other. But the ideals for which Subhash Chandra Bose must die, so he sacrificed. He resigned from the ICS examination, just like Sri Aurobindo Ghosh had done a few years back. So he was inspired by Aurobindo Ghosh's example. And after he completed his tripos degree, that is BA degree in philosophy from Cambridge, in 1921, he decided to return to India. Now, in those days, you know that people had to come by ship. So the ship that he was sailing to Bombay had another distinguished Indian. He was Nobel laureate poet Rabindranath Tagore. So Tagore advised Subhash to meet Mahatma Gandhi at Bombay before going to Calcutta. So immediately after the ship reached Bombay, Subhash went to Mahatma Gandhi's residence at Bombay to meet him. What was the time? The time was 1921, when Mahatma Gandhi was at the peak of his career, because it was he who had broken the control of the Metropolitan Babu and threw open the Indian nationalist agitation to the masses. He was the true mass leader at that time. So 2 successive days, Subhash had a very intimate meeting with Gandhi, It was a very provocative meeting. It's not that he was very, because Gandhi was rather quite unhappy with his questions. He was very, put so many questions, many of which Gandhi could not answer. But Gandhi was astonished by his merit. So he advised him to go to Calcutta and meet C.R. Das. C.R. Das, the prominent lawyer of the city of Calcutta, later became his political guru. So he reached Calcutta in 1921, late 1921. So from 1921 to 1940, this was a short political career of which all of you know. It's a too short political career, and but it was meteoric. His rise was meteoric. He reached Calcutta in 1921. In 1922, he became the All India Youth Congress Committee secretary. And in 1923, he became the secretary of the Bengal Congress Committee. In 1927, he became the general secretary of the All India Congress Committee. In 1930, he became the mayor of Calcutta. And in 1938, he was unanimously elected as the president of the All India Congress Committee. So his rise was meteoric. But here started the problem, because Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was a man of different metals and a brilliant man like him. So he didn't become president of the Congress just to become the president. It was not possible for him to spend to waste time in politics. So the first thing he did as president of the Congress Committee was he formed National Planning Committee in 1938. And in this committee, he took the policy of rapid industrialization. Rapid industrialization. Nehru also silently supported him as the future need of India when India become free. So this is the first point, that he went against the manifest desire of Mahatma Gandhi, because all you know that Gandhi preferred regeneration of village industries and village reconstruction. So this is one point. So in the next year, 1939, when presidential election became due, Subhash Bose decided to contest again against Pattabhi Sitaramaiah, who was Gandhi's candidate. And everyone was surprised that he defeated Mahatma Gandhi's candidate by 203 votes. 203 votes. So he became the official president. Then Gandhiji made the historic statement, Pattabhi Sitaramaiah's defeat is my defeat. So this created a pressure group within the Congress committee, and Netaji was forced to resign, had to resign first from the Congress committee and then finally exit, first as the president and then finally exit from the Congress. The rest of his life is much too well known. Subhash Bose was put in house arrest, and in 1940 he escaped from Calcutta by road to a place near Bihar, present-day Jharkhand, and from there by train to Lahore. From Lahore, in a blended mode of transport, to Afghanistan, from Afghanistan to Russia. In Russia, he spent months, a number of months, in the vain hope, because he was hoping that he will be able to meet Stalin, who will help him in against the British. But Stalin let him down. He refused to meet him. So frustrated, Subhash Bose went to Italy via Austria, and then to Germany. And there in Europe, he organized the Indian diaspora, which also included Vittal Bhai Patel, who was the elder brother of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and he was a great leader there of the Indian diaspora in Europe. So through their support, and Netaji could meet Benito Mussolini of Italy and Adolf Hitler in Germany. And this for the first time the ice broke. He decided, the Axis power decided to help Subhash Chandra Bose against the British, but the God again desired otherwise. So it was at this time that Russia changed the side, that is from the Axis power to the Allied power. And Germany suffered defeat to the Allied powers. So Germany was not in a position to support Subhash anymore, but German government arranged a submarine for him to escape to Japan. So from Germany, in a submarine, he went to Madagascar in Africa, where he changed the German submarine and took a Japanese submarine, and then he reached Japan. Just imagine, this was his second escape, because in those days, entire seas, Indian Ocean, was under the observation of the British Navy. So he could hoodwink them, he could dupe them, the network, the British intelligence network and the surveillance of the British Navy, and safely reach Japan. Here the Japanese government accepted him as the undisputed leader of Indian freedom struggle, and decided to help him. Now the first help came in the way of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which was at that time under the occupation of Japan. The government of Japan handed over Andaman and Nicobar Islands to Subhash Chandra Bose. And Subhash Chandra Bose in the meantime, with the help of the great Indian revolutionary leader, Rash Bihari Ghosh in Southeast Asia, and Captain Mohan Singh, organized the INA, or Azad Hind Force. So in October 1943, Andaman and Nicobar Islands was handed over to the INA, and Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose formed the Provisional Government of Free India on 21st October 1943, with himself as the Prime Minister, and it had everything, all systems. I am not going into those details. You'll be surprised to know it had coins, it had stamp, it had flag, it had judiciary, it had army, everything. It had police, it had intelligence, everything. So literally, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose is the first official Prime Minister of India. Then the free government declared war on the British, and the INA from its Rangoon base, that is Myanmar, today's Myanmar, moved to the Indian frontier, and attacked the British India on two fronts. One was Imphal, that is in Manipur, and the other was Kohima, that is Nagaland. The rest is history. So this is the story. You all know that what happened later on. It was 1944. In 1945, everything was complete. Now here, my second question comes, that how was Netaji treated in the history books? Through all these 7 decades, the 70 years of Indian independence, how the history books have treated him. Indian history has treated him. The history of freedom struggle. And the best book, and firstly, there is a misconception. There is a misconception that the history of freedom struggle in India has been woven around the concept that India achieved her freedom through non-violent means. And there is an old cinematic lyric, of which many of you, the older people, must have heard. De di ajadi hame, बिना खरग बिना ढाल, बिना खरग बिना ढाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल. Yet nothing could be far from the reality. If you look at the history of Maharashtra, right from the days of 1857, if you look at the history of Rani Chennamma, or if you look at the history of Odisha, Bhai Jagabandhu and Satyam Veer, or if you look at the history of Punjab, if you look at the history of Bengal in particular, so the violent mode, the revolutionary mode, the mode of the terrorist was a major component of Indian freedom struggle. And the first banner of revolt against the British had been raised by the religious man, the Sannyasi. The Sannyasis in 1760, just 3 years after the Battle of Plassey, 1757, when the Company's Raj was established. So it is, I mean, this revolutionary and the violent means of agitation was as much important in Indian freedom struggle as it was the non-violent mode of agitation. So it was a continuum, it was a combination, it was a blending of the two modes that made the British leave India, but they left India divided, partitioned. Now, let me come back to the point. What do you see in the history book? And the best evidence to discuss this is Professor Bipan Chandra's widely circulated book, India's Struggle for Independence. Who is Professor Bipan Chandra? Professor Bipan Chandra taught history, modern history in JNU for decades, and he is the most successful author of the history of freedom struggle in India. His book is the most widely read and most widely circulated book. Particularly India's Struggle for Independence. You see, this is a very important book written by him. Now, this is a 600 pages book. 600 pages book, and as you see the title, India's Struggle for Independence. This 600 pages book dedicated only 7 lines to the INA. Only 7 lines to the INA. And what did he read? What did he write? I am quoting. One INA battalion commanded by Shahunaj, I mean, just I am giving you, Bipan Chandra wrote that one INA battalion under Shahunaj Khan, along with the Japanese army, moved to Imphal, but the mistreatment, that the misbehavior of the Japanese army units to the Indians, who forced them to do their menial duties and etc., created some problems, and the INA experiment was a failure. So he wrote that it was a failure and it was not possible for them to liberate the nation. Just to compare it with what Encyclopedia Britannica referred to Bosch and the INA war on the Indian front in its recently updated article, 14th August 2021. Just to compare what our historian, Indian historian, has written and what the British historian has written on the INA war. I quote, in 1943, Bosch's Indian National Army, Azad Hind Fauj, alongside Japanese troops, advanced to Rangoon and thence overland into India. Reaching Indian soil on March 18, 1944, and moving into Kohima, that is Nagaland, and the plains of Imphal, that is Manipur. In a stubborn battle, I quote, I repeat, in a stubborn battle, the mixed Indian and Japanese forces, lacking Japanese air support, were defeated and forced to retreat. The Indian National Army, nevertheless, for some time succeeded in maintaining its identity as a liberation army based in Burma and then in Indochina. Now, what was the nature of the war? What was the nature of the war? And as to the nature of the war, the leading columnist of the Indian Express, Meghnad Desai, described it as, quote, the toughest battle of the Second World War. So Meghnad Desai described it as the toughest battle of the Second World War fought on the Indian soil. And the poignant thing was that 1 lakh Indian took part in this war under the INA banner. Now, the important point to note here that neither Encyclopedia Britannica's article, nor Meghnad Desai referred to the mistreatment, misbehavior of the Japanese to the Indians. This is the point Professor Bipan Chandru has emphasized. So, the second major important point is the hoisting of tricolor at Moirang in Manipur by the Azad Hind Fauj on 14th April 1944. Recently, you must have seen that our Prime Minister went there, and it's been created. Now, the recent research has revealed many anecdotes of the great sacrifice of the INA in Imphal, INA members of the INA in Imphal. But Indian historians have not referred to a single, sentence on the Moirang incident. That is the hoisting of national flag by the INA. What is the reason? Critics have downsized the importance of the Moirang incident on the ground that Bose was not present there. Netaji Subhash Bose was not present there. Netaji Subhash Bose was the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is not supposed to raise the flag. So it is just the reason, since Bose was not there when the flag hoisting, so this event was not important for them, for the Indian historian. The question is, does his absence minimize the importance of the event in the way? So when Kohima fell to the Allied powers, that the British Army, did the British Prime Minister go there to raise the flag? So this is just an illogical argument that they ignored this great incident, the hoisting of tricolor on the Indian soil. In 1944, 3 years before, India actually achieved its independence in a half-broken way. That is, half our territory went to make a different country. Now, the question is for you all, for the students and for you all, what is the reason? Why has the great sacrifice of the INA heroes and their charismatic leader been painted in half-tone? Now, as you all know, trouble started with the Tripuri Congress when Netaji defeated Gandhi's candidate, Pattabhi Sitaramaiah. That was the problem, first problem. The second problem is the issue of ideology, which created the Gandhi-Netaji rift. But ideology was not really a major issue. Everybody knew that Netaji's tilt towards socialism, but so was also Gandhi's dearest one, Nehru. Gandhi knew that Nehru was also a visionary socialist. And Nehru and Bose, they organized the socialist and the left-oriented people within the Congress. Gandhi knew it. The real problem between Mahatma Gandhi and Netaji was on the issue of mode of agitation. Gandhi preferred non-violent agitation. Subhash Bose, right from his early days, was for revolutionary agitation, revolutionary agitational techniques. So, but Netaji was always respectful to Mahatma Gandhi, and Mahatma Gandhi was also very affectionate to Netaji. That did not, spoil their personal relation. Netaji wrote a letter to Gandhi in which he explained I quote, against a brutal foe like the British, no amount of civil disobedience or sabotage or of revolutionary terrorism can be of any avail. The enemy has already drawn the sword. The enemy has already drawn the sword. He must therefore be fought with the sword. That was the principle. Since the enemy has drawn the sword, I must fight the enemy with the sword. That was that was Netaji's technique of agitation. But Gandhi believed that country was not prepared for that armed struggle against the British. So he directed his followers to keep peace and to organize organize the house first. But this was a major issue, that when the time will come for the revolutionary total agitation, total opposition to the British. Netaji believed that if the real struggle started, all the infightings and divide will disappear. And so it happened. At the moment of the Red Fort trial, all the communal divide, communal tension subsided, and there was a complete agitation. There was a total agitation against the British, nationwide agitation. So we are talking of 1945. 1945. Now in 1945, the country was, 1945-46, the country was busy with the Red Fort trial of the INA war heroes. And this issue created a major problem. And everywhere we see that the communal movement, the Pakistan movement, all subsided. And everywhere, in all parts of the country, we see combined popular movement against the Red Fort trial. The Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and the INA heroes who fought the toughest battle of the Second World War for their motherland in the most difficult terrain of the Arakans against Allied army, thus went down the history as misdirected patriots, and were pushed to the margin of the dominant narrative. Now, Subhash Chandra Bose, you just imagine, the man who twice duped the British intelligence, as Shivaji Maharaj had done with the Mughals centuries earlier, toured nearly half of the world in search of positive support of Indian freedom, who tried to emulate what George Washington had done for America and Giuseppe Garibaldi for Italy, and in the end laid down his life in the struggle for a great cause along with thousands of Indians whom he had inspired to fight for their motherland. But the greatest achievement, what was the greatest achievement of Subhash Chandra Bose in spite of all this? His greatest achievement was that in 1945, when Indian society, the fabric of the Indian society was writ large by communal divide, by tension between Hindus and Muslims, and the Pakistan movement was at its peak, Netaji succeeded in uniting Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Buddhists, and the Christians to fight for their mother country under the one banner, Azad Hind Fauj. What is contemporaries in 1945? Because history is a subject of possibilities. Suppose if INA succeeded and Netaji would have succeeded to enter India with a victorious INA, what would have happened? This is the question French journalist Louis Fischer had asked to Khurshid Ben. Who was Khurshid Ben? Khurshid Ben was the granddaughter of Dadabhai Nauroji, the grand old man of Indian nationalism. Dadabhai Nauroji's granddaughter. So Khurshid Ben, just to listen what she said to the French journalist Louis Fischer. Khurshid Ben said, if Bose entered India, I repeat, if Bose entered India at the head of an Indian army, he could rally the whole country, since Bose was more popular than Nehru in certain circumstances and had a stronger appeal than Gandhi. So this was a possibility that Khurshid Ben stated to Louis Fisher. Now, a recent scholar from Nagaland recollected that Subhash Chandra Bose was a role model to their generation, who used to keep his photograph in their studies. I was in Pune. I repeatedly used to visit repeatedly Pune University. So I remember in the 80s, mid-80s possibly, one evening I was looking at some bookstalls in the Pune Old Market. So I was surprised to see that these small storybooks of Shivaji Maharaj and Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose were selling side by side in Marathi language. I asked the shopkeeper, how is it that the book on Subhash Chandra Bose in Marathi language you have kept on the stalls? He said that Netaji Subhash Bose is very popular among our children. So this is the impact factor. Even after so many decades of Indian independence, of his disappearance, and of the neglect of Subhash Chandra Bose as a great patriot by the government of India, independent government of India, Netaji was very attracted. People all across India, if you see, Subhash Chandra Bose was very popular, and his heroism and his dramatic life, his sacrifice, unmitigated sacrifice, a genius like him, academic brilliance, uprightness, and selfless sacrifice made him a popular hero of legendary nature. So this is the problem. But a change came. A change came first in 2011. I am not going into the details. In 2011, an autobiography was published on Netaji, in which for the first time the author stated, Subhash Chandra Bose has not been a favorite with the Indian establishment at any point of time since independence. Regardless, he has been the most popular national hero in the minds and hearts of Indian masses through several generations since independence. And all of you must have heard of The Guardian, the famous newspaper, The Guardian. The Guardian, the London-based Guardian, referred to another interesting point. On 18th May 2014, London-based newspaper The Guardian, in its editorial entitled India, Another Tryst with Destiny, observed, today, I quote, today, 18th May 2014, may well go down in history as the day when British finally left India, which marks the end of a long era in which the structure of power did not differ greatly from those which Britain ruled the subcontinent. And I repeat, India under the Congress Party was in many ways a continuation of the British Raj by other means. So we are all very hopeful. We are all very hopeful that May 18, 2014 marked a change, a characteristic change in the nature of the Indian administration and in the nature of the Indian establishment. And obviously, the percolated impact of all this is a change in academic approach to assessment, to reassessing our history of Indian freedom struggle. As a result of which, we see that Parakram Divas has been declared as a national program, and Subhash Chandra Bose, the prestigious statue, Subhash Chandra Bose, has made a mark at the India Gate, New Delhi. So for the young generation of this country, for the students of this country, the upcoming generations, it is up to you to see, to find out. The government of Taiwan has already decided to open the archives for Netaji research. So I believe the next generation of Indian students and historians will reveal the real history of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and his real contribution to the Indian freedom struggle. Thank you very much. Thank you. Namaskar. Jai Hind. It's over. Hello, it's over. It's useless, really. It's very zero impact.
प्रतिभाशाली व्यक्तिमत्व, स्वातंत्र्य लढ्यातील योगदान, राष्ट्रपती असलेली त्यांची समर्पित भावना, नेतृत्वाची क्षमता, त्यांची आणि राष्ट्रीय तालीम, आणि महत्वाचं म्हणजे सरांच्या भाषणात महात्मा गांधी यांना सर्वप्रथम राष्ट्रपिता यांनी संबोधले ते नेताजी सुभाषचंद्र बोस आणि सुभाषचंद्र बोस. प्रथमतः नेताजींनी म्हटलं असेल ते राष्ट्रपिता महात्मा गांधी. यानंतर या कार्यक्रमाचे अध्यक्ष सन्माननीय प्रफुल्ल संजयजी दुबे सर यांना मी विनंती करतो त्यांनी आपले अध्यक्ष वक्तव्य. प्रमुख अतिथि सरकार माजी कुलगुरु तमाम विद्यार्थी पश्चिम बंगाल और हमारे विश्वविद्यालय में आचार्य हमारे डायरेक्टर डॉक्टर सुरपाल से भारतीय शिक्षा मंडल की ओर से आज का यह कार्यक्रम मैं उनका
दिल से अभिनंदन करता हूँ। ये आजादी का महोत्सव वर्ष है। इस अमृत महोत्सव वर्ष में हमारे विश्वविद्यालय में एक अच्छे कार्यक्रम जो कि विद्यार्थी को प्रेरणा देते हैं, इससे हमारे डिपार्टमेंट के अध्यक्ष एक दो महीने से कार्यक्रम रखते हैं। आपको पता होगा कि नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस जयंती 23 जनवरी को मनाई जाती है। तो इस साल ये जयंती पराक्रम दिवस के रूप में हम लोग मनाने जा रहे हैं। हमारे NSS के डायरेक्टर तो सौभाग्य से उन्होंने हमारे सामने प्रपोजल डॉक्टर सुभाष चंद्र बोस पर उनका अच्छा अध्ययन जो कुलपति रहे हैं, उनका विद्यालय के लिए एक अच्छा ऑनलाइन के माध्यम से आवासीय बदला आवासीय माध्यम से कुंती कुमार सरकार द्वारा एक साल में भी सुभाष चंद्र बोस के शिक्षण से लेके और अपने भारत में नहीं तो भारत के बाहर उन्होंने जो कार्य किया है, साहसी कार्य किया है, उसके बारे में हम सभी विद्यार्थियों ने उनका संभाषण सुना है। ऐसा लगता है कि उनका संभाषण हमने पूरा डिटेल ना होगा और आपके लिए लाभदायक होगा। तुम मुझे खुद दो, मैं तुम्हें घर दूंगा। तुम्हें ब्लड ऐसा स्लोगन देने वाले डॉक्टर सुभाष चंद्र बोस को पता होगा कि जमाने में जो IAS एग्जाम होती है वो सिविल सर्विस बोलते हैं। 1920 में उन्होंने पास की थी और उसके पश्चात उस समय हमारे भारतवर्ष में आजादी के लिए एक मूवमेंट चली थी। उस मूवमेंट में महात्मा गांधी भी थे। को पता होगा कि सुभाष चंद्र बोस तो परिवार था, परिवार सशक्त था। अब परिवार से जब मुझे लगता है सुभाष चंद्र बोस 16 साल के थे, तब विवेकानंद का प्रभाव पड़ा था और उस समय से पढ़ाई करते थे। उसको लगता कि हमने आजादी के लिए आंदोलन मेरा भी योगदान होना चाहिए और इस दृष्टि से वो समय की भारतीय कांग्रेस के सदस्य बने। सदस्य बनने के बाद उन्होंने मूवमेंट में हिस्सा लिया तो उसमें हिस्सा लिया कि दूसरे महायुद्ध का समय दूसरे महायुद्ध में हमारे शासन में हमारी भारतीय सेना लड़ने के लिए दूसरे महायुद्ध में थी। अब मुझे पता है कि हमारा हार गया जवाब थे सैनिक थे उनको बंदी बनाए हुए सैनिक तब सुभाष चंद्र बोस को ऐसा लगा कि इस समय का उठाना चाहिए। फिर वो कैसे सिंगापुर लाहौर से होते हुए जर्मनी गए वहाँ पे कुछ जो लोग इकट्ठा किया और पता होगा सिंगापुर में फौज की स्थापना की और जब हमारा और उस समय हमारी फौज जापान था हमारे कुछ सैनिक वहाँ गए पहला पहली लड़ाई सुभाष चंद्र बोस के बाद इसके बाद साथ के साथ फैसला किया हम सुभाष चंद्र बोस को ऐसा लगा कि हम अभी और अंग्रेज के साथ लड़ने के साथ यही से शुरुआत थी कि ऐसा लगा यहाँ दिख रहा है कि जब यहाँ का जर्मनी में जाके बना के इंडिया में आके कर सकता है तब उस समय में अंग्रेज सरकार लगा कि अपना इंडिया में रहना मुश्किल है और उस समय में जो मोमेंट चली तो उस समय में जो मोमेंट चली मोमेंट में एक जबरदस्त आजाद हिंद सेना के मार्फत से हमारे यार के नौजवानों की अब उस समय नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस के इसमें एक क्रांतिकारी और चलो दिल्ली समय में जो आजादी का पर्व है वही हमारी बहुत सारे इतिहास के उदाहरण सरकार ने सुभाष चंद्र बोस के बारे में इतिहास पता है जब भी एक कार्यक्रम हुआ कि हमारे यहाँ का अपने मातृभूमि के से होके और एक जर्जर से उनको छुड़ाना है वहां से समय कोई भी साधन नहीं है जर्मनी में जाके एक हमारे मातृभूमि के लिए लड़ा तैयार है तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि हमारे जो नौजवान हैं ये उनके पराक्रम देखते हुए हम हमारे मातृभूमि के लिए क्या कर सकते हैं हमारे मन में सुभाष चंद्र की चेतना थी वैसी चेतना हमारे मन में आनी चाहिए और हम हमारे देश के लिए क्या कर सकते हैं हम देश के लिए क्या हम दे सकते हैं मुझे ऐसा लगता है तो हम हमारे देश के लिए सुभाष चंद्र बोस से प्रेरणा लेंगे तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है समय अपने पूरे जगत में हमारे देश के होगा हमारे विचार सब देश में जाने जाने जो दिन है तो ये विचार का परिवर्तन लाने के लिए दिन है और हमने इसका गर्व महसूस करना चाहिए। आपको पता होगा कि पेपर में पराक्रम दिवस के ऊपर सुभाष चंद्र बोस का पुतला गेट ऑफ इंडिया के बनाने वाले हैं। सरकार का भी अभिनंदन करते हैं। ऐसे कदम हमारे देश में हमारे जो पराक्रमी पुरुष बारे में समाज में नहीं सोचता है। हमने उनका जो इतिहास है सब ने बोला है। हिंदी में बहुत सारी किताबें हैं और इंग्लिश में भी किताब है, लेकिन मराठी में सुभाष चंद्र बोस पर छोटी छोटी किताबें प्रकाशित करते हैं। सुभाष चंद्र बोस का जीवन अगर हमारे समाज का लगता है कि उनके मन के ऊपर भी अच्छा असर होता है। एक कार्यक्रम भारतीय शिक्षण मंडल और हमारे NSS रखा है, उनका अभिनंदन करता हूँ।
धन्यवाद सर। राष्ट्रीय सेवा योजना राष्ट्रसंत तुकडोजी महाराज नागपूर विश्वविद्यालय इस पराक्रम दिन के अवसर पर नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस विशेष कार्यक्रम जयंती पर हमारे मार्गदर्शक चौधरी सर तिरुपति राष्ट्रसंत तुकडोजी महाराज नागपूर विश्वविद्यालय लेकिन हमारे कार्यक्रम के संदर्भ में का योगदान राष्ट्रीय सेवा योजना भारतीय शिक्षण मंडल मार्गदर्शक के रूप में माननीय सुभाष चंद्र उनका मैं पद देना चाहता हूँ। कार्यक्रम के अध्यक्ष सम्माननीय डॉक्टर संजय आज अध्यक्षता के रूप में मार्गदर्शन कार्यक्रमाधिकारी NSS वाले तो नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस का व्यक्तित्व और वैचारिक परिचय जो सर के बोधन से हुआ है राष्ट्रीय सेवा योजना धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ। आज के विशेष अवसर पर प्रमुख अतिथि के रूप में सम्माननीय सुनील कुमार सरकार कुलपति वर्तमान विद्यापीठ पश्चिम बंगाल इन्होंने आज मुख्य अतिथि के रूप में जो वैचारिक प्रगति का व्यक्तित्व विचार माध्यम से जो हमें परिचय करने और अभ्यास करने बोधन किया है विश्वविद्यालय की ओर से राष्ट्रीय सेवा योजना विभाग की ओर से भारतीय शिक्षण मंडल की ओर से धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ, आभार प्रकट करना चाहता हूँ। हमारे विश्वविद्यालय के सचिव डॉक्टर का देना चाहता हूँ। इस अवसर पर विशेष उपस्थिति प्राचार्य डॉक्टर अखिलेश सर इनका भी मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ। आज अवसर पर ऑनलाइन के माध्यम से राष्ट्रीय सेवा योजना कार्यक्रम अधिकारी राष्ट्रीय सेवा योजना जिला समन्वय विभागीय समन्वय हमारे राष्ट्रीय सेवा योजना विभाग के कर्मचारी और विद्यापीठ विद्युत विभाग चंद्रमंदिर इस सब का विश्वविद्यालय की ओर से और राष्ट्रीय सेवा योजना विभाग द्वारा का धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ और इस कार्यक्रम का प्रसारण से इसलिए सभी विद्यापीठ की ओर से संलग्न उनका मैं शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहता हूँ, धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ और कार्यक्रम का समापन प्रसारण कार्यक्रम के बाद समाप्त